Hey everyone. Okay, so we're back this time with Sin City 2, A Dame to Kill For. I went and saw this the other day at the cinema, and I saw the 2D version. And a long story short, I really enjoyed this movie. This movie was really good. It really was. Of course, as you guys probably know, it's been something of a flop, hasn't it? Yeah, it hasn't done very well at the box office, which is unfortunate. It really is. And for some reason, it's getting really bad reviews, or really or poorly reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes. It's in the mid 40s on in terms of the percentage at the minute, which is such a shame. I think the rating of the movie on the Internet Movie Database is a much more fair rating. I think it's 7.1 at the minute, so I think that's a much fairer rating for this movie, because I really like the first one. I was taken with how unique it was, really, in terms of its style and the look of the movie. You know, it's both of these movies are a love letter or love letters to film noir, and it's really got that style. You know, what you'd expect from a 40s, 50s movie. You know, and like I say, of course, one of the trademarks is its use of colour. That, like, for the most part, filmed in black and white, with the occasional touches of colour here and there to essentially highlight things, you know. And it's really well done, and that's something that carries over into this second movie. So yeah, visually stunning movies, the both of them, and they've really done a great job of capturing that comic book feel, because there are, you know, a lot of the shots in the movie do look like something out of a comic book, and it's really great. It's really great. Yeah, but really like the first movie, and this movie I think genuinely lives up to its predecessor. It's really good, and it deserves to do a hell of a lot better than it's doing at the minute. But maybe it'll be a case of it, you know, it'll make most of its money when it hits home video. I'll certainly get it when it hits home video. I'll get it on Blu-ray, and I'll have to get the first one, because I haven't got the first one on Blu-ray, but I'll get them both together. Yeah. Yeah, I was honestly, all the way throughout this movie, I was into it. So let's dive right in. Obviously, a lot of the film is very much linked with the first movie. Like, of course, Jessica Alba. Again, it's an anthology movie with the different segments, much like the first movie. And Jessica Alba's segment, of course, which is the last segment of this movie. The movie's divided up into 3 main segments. 4 if you count the opening, because there's an opening scene, like pre-title card, which features Marv, Mickey Rourke's character, and it's basically reintroducing his character into the movie, you know, or should I say reintroducing the character to the audience. Well, why not? It's been 9 years, you know. Yeah, so basically that opening scene is Marv interrupting these gang of frat boys who were going around attacking and intimidating the homeless people. Well, that's an understatement. Actually pouring alcohol over them and setting them on fire. Yeah, but it's alright though, because Marv shows up and puts a stop to it. He chases them all down and kills every single one of them. So yeah, Great way to reintroduce that character to us. And then obviously we get the trademark title card, you know, Frank Miller's Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. Yeah, so the three main segments of this movie are, of course, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's segment, which was my favourite. Then we have Josh Brolin's segment, which does really take up the main body of the movie. Then, following that, we wrap up Joseph Gordon-Levitt's segment, because they do the similar sort of thing that they did in the first one, you know, with Bruce Willis' segment. Like, you start with that, and then cuts to Marv's segment with Elijah Wood, and that takes up a large portion of the movie. Then we cut to Clive Owen's segment, and then of course finish the movie with Bruce Willis' segment. And we do a similar sort of thing here. So yeah, part one of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's segment, we get all of Josh Brolin's segment, then we get the conclusion of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's segment, and finish with the Jessica Alba stuff. So yeah, we may as well just talk through these one by one. In Joseph Gordon-Levitt's segment, he is a hotshot gambler who arrives in Sin City and wants to make a name for himself, make a lot of money, and he wants to get in on Senator Rourke's poker game. Senator Rourke, of course, played by Powers Booth, and is, of course, the mayor of Sin City. Now, Powers Booth is terrifying in this movie. He really, really is. He was in the first one as well, you know, but one of the nice things is Powers Booth has a much bigger role in this movie. He really does. Yeah, he's in it for the duration. Of course, he only had a very minor role in the first movie, you know, and just featured in Bruce Willis' segment. But now he has much more to do in this one, because not only is he a main character in Joseph Gordon-Levitt's segment, he also is a main character in Jessica Alba's segment. So yeah, he's got a hell of a lot of stuff to do in this movie. Yeah, and for me, he steals the show. He's one of my favourite things about this movie. He is terrifying. You know, you gotta love Powers Booth. So yes, Joseph Gordon-Levitt manages to get in on Senator Rourke's poker game, and he beats him and wins a hell of a lot of money, from him, and that, you know, he's feeling pretty pleased with himself, and he's going out. He gets a girl, and they're gonna go out for a night on the town, but things don't go to plan, unfortunately. No, I'm afraid they don't, because while they're out, they get accosted by a number of Senator Rourke's thugs, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt manages to fight a couple of them off, and then this limo pulls up with Senator Rourke, and, you know, it's a case of, get in. Okay, well, you're not going to argue with a man with a gun in his hand. And while he's in the limo, Senator Rourke's men beat him up. They actually break the fingers on his right hand, because obviously, you know, you can't do anything without your lucky hand, can you? You know, you won't be playing any more poker games. So yeah, they break out all the fingers on his hand. Senator Rourke takes his money back, because Joseph Gordon-Levitt has it in this big leather bag. So yeah, I'll take that, thanks. And then they chuck him out in the street and leave him for dead. And also we find out, while the two of these are having a back and forth, that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is actually one of Senator Rourke's illegitimate children. Yeah, he even says, "Oh, I saw the family resemblance the moment you walked through that door. You know, I knew you were one of mine." So yeah, hey, apparently Senator Rock's got a lot of kids floating around. So yeah, the rest of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's segment is then how he's going to get himself back together and get his own back. And it's during his segment that we have a great cameo from Christopher Lloyd, who plays like a back alley doctor in Sin City, and we get that line from Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you know, if you knock on the right, you know, if you go down the right alley in Sin City, you can find anything. So yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt goes to Christopher Lloyd and gives him some money or what money he has left, and Christopher Lloyd helps him out. You know, he puts, you know, he manages to set his fingers from, you know, and set his hand, and also during the fight with Senator Rourke's men, Joseph Gordon-Levitt had been shot in the I think it was in the shin. So obviously Christopher Lloyd gets the bullet out from him and, you know, patches him up, sends him on his way. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt then goes into a cafe, and sorry, that's something I should have mentioned. The girl who was with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, they kill her off again to get back at Joseph Gordon-Levitt, so obviously to make things more personal. So the love interest's dead. So obviously Joseph Gordon-Levitt really, you know, is really got we're really rooting for Joseph Gordon-Levitt now. So he goes to this cafe, and he gets a drink, and he gets talking to the waitress there, who's played by Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga's back in a Robert Rodriguez movie. Oh, okay. Yeah. Apparently, it looks like she's going to be a regular now, because obviously she was in Machete Kills, she's in this. I wonder what she's going to be in next from Robert Rodriguez. Hopefully not a kids movie. Robert Rodriguez, please don't do any more kids movies. Yeah, so they get talking, and she actually gives him $1 note and says, you know, it's not much, but I hope this can help you out. And then that's when we get the line from the trailer, you know, oh, this is going to take me to the moon. So anyway, it goes back to the nightclub from the first movie, where obviously Jessica Alba is there as a dancer, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt hits the jackpot machines again, and hits the jackpot and wins and gets a ton of money out of the machine. And then he goes in the back room where Senator Rourke is again, having yet another poker game, and we have round 2. Yeah, the second poker game, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt manages to beat him again. And anyway, he's raking all the cash in, he's getting it in his bag, and he says, look, now you can't, you know, I've took you down a peg, because now everyone will know that I've beat you, that I'm better than you, and you're not the most powerful man in Sin City. You know, basically crushing his ego, taking him down a peg. But obviously, I think he's forgetting, you don't want to do that to Powers Booth, because Powers Booth says, fair enough, everyone will know that you beat me. You're right, but now everyone's gonna know what happens when you beat me. And Powers Booth pulls a gun and shoots Joseph Gordon-Levitt point blank in the face and kills him. And that's pretty much the end of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's segment. Yeah, is it, you know, dump the body, and he again to you know, mine, I think, and takes them his money back. So yeah, really dark ending for Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, but do you know what? Obviously, he's a new addition to this movie. He wasn't in the first movie. He's new to. This is his first appearance, but his character was really good. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was really good in this movie. Yeah, he's certainly one of the highlights. And he can really play that part. He can really pull it off, you know, like the hot shot, the smooth talker. And again, you can buy him as an action star. You know, you could, when he's fighting Senator Rourke's thugs, his henchmen, you could buy that he could hold his own against them. You know what I mean. So he's a competent lead and a competent action star. And, you know, one of the things that makes him so good in this movie. So yeah, that was my favourite segment of the three in this movie. Then of course we get the Josh Brolin segment, and he is of course playing the character played by Clive Owen in the first movie, Dwight. Now, in this story is set before the events that take place in Clive Owen's segment in the first movie. Yeah, and this explains the different actor, because in this segment we see him undergo he undergoes the face transplant surgery, you know, and of course they reference that in the first movie when Brittany Murphy says to Clive Owen, you know about his coming around, before he came around here with that new face of yours. So yeah, we see how that comes about. And basically this is the segment which features of course Eva Green. And she's really good in this. She steals the show in that segment. Yeah, she's great. And when I say this segment features Eva Green, this segment features all of Eva Green. Oh yeah. Because of course we have that thing with Jessica Alba, that she's playing a stripper of course. And yeah, we do see quite a bit of her, if you know what I mean. You know, she's got some quite revealing clothing on, but of course, I've heard that she has that no nudity clause in her contract. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you're playing a stripper. Eva Green, on the other hand, complete opposite. We see, you know, for the majority of her screen time, she is just, you know, we see everything. Well, you know, there are times, well, do we say, well, she's certainly completely naked, but of course the way the shots are lit, you know, this obviously you can't necessarily see everything, you know, in terms of the shadows, but yeah, we see full front and back at some point or other throughout her screen time. And she looks fabulous, of course, because it's Eva Green. Obviously, I knew that going into it because I recently been watching, you know, that Penny Dreadful mini-series with her and Tim Dalton. And of course we see, I think, everything of her in that. So, obviously, I knew what I was in for. Yeah, but obviously that's not the only reason she steals the show in this segment. She is terrifying again, much like Powers Booth. She is terrifying in this movie, and she is completely evil. And again, you can buy her, much like you can with Powers Booth, that she is evil. Yeah, you don't doubt it for a second. I mean, the subtitle, "The Dame to Kill For," is of course in reference to her. The line comes, well, you see it in the trailer. You know, Mickey Rourke says to Josh Brolin, "Right, there's a dame to kill for." Damn right. Yeah. Basically, the story is Eva Green is an old flame of Josh Brolin's, and she gets in contact with him. And she wants him to kill her husband, and he does. You know, well, she uses very persuasive methods. You know, she basically has sex with him, and she even says, you know, "I knew having sex with you would be the best way to get you to do whatever I wanted you to do." So yeah, She she has sex with him, persuades him to kill her husband. He then does, and then we find out that her husband was not the evil, abusive husband that she made him out to be. She'd been lying to Josh Brolin. Says, he's horrible to me. I need to be free of him. You've got to help me. And Josh Brolin kills him, and then she says, and then you find out she's the evil one. And it's not really a surprise, because after all, it's Eva Green. She's going to have a dark side to her. Yeah. So she set him up, basically. She said, thank you, Dwight, for killing him. You just made me a very rich woman. And, I get off completely scot-free. You, on the other hand. And then she tries to kill him. Yeah. She just pulls her 6-shooter and completely unloads. And, nearly kills him, but of course Mickey Rourke's there to rescue him, because basically Eva Green's husband is of course a mega money man, and he has his own private estate, with guards and gates and everything, and his own security. So obviously when Josh Brolin was gonna go and kill him, he had to get in there first, and Mickey Rourke agreed to help him. And so obviously when things go bad, and Josh Brolin gets shot a couple of times and gets sent flying out the top floor window, Mickey Rourke's there to pick him up and get him out of there before, anything more can happen to him. And then of course we go to Old Town, and that's where he undergoes his they go to Old Town, and then that's where where Josh Brolin undergoes his face transplant surgery, because he's he actually got shot in the eye, I think. Yeah, so he's completely disfigured. He's in a bad way, and he's lost a lot of blood. He's completely terrible state. So yeah, he needs to have surgery, and he needs to have surgery now. Yeah, so he undergoes the surgery, and of course is made to look more like Clive Owen. Yeah, that's the thing, because I think at one point they were going to have Clive Owen cameo in the movie to finish out that segment, But of course Clive Owen was unavailable during filming, because he was in the middle of making a TV show, so obviously they couldn't get him. So of course they just had to put prosthetics onto Josh Brolin to make him look, as much as they could, make him look like Clive Owen. Yeah, honestly, with that part of Dwight, I personally think Clive Owen was did the better job of it. Josh Brolin's fine, but Clive Owen was better. I genuinely thought so. It was such a shame that he couldn't have come back for this movie, But Josh Brolin's fine. He does, So yeah, he's still alive. He's underwent this face transplant, and together with the help of the women from Old Town, he's gonna go and get his revenge on Eva Green. And they manage to infiltrate the estate again, and then they have the big shootout, and which ends with Eva Green being shot and killed. And also it's during this segment that we see the character that was formerly played by Michael Clarke Duncan, like that heavy enforcer guy. I always wonder, is he actually a robot, because he comes across that way. Of course in this movie he isn't played by Michael Clarke Duncan, because unfortunately he's passed away. He's replaced in this by is it Dennis Haysbert? You know, the actor who played President David Palmer in 24. So it was cool seeing him. This movie is something of a 24 reunion, because we have Powers Booth, who was Vice President Daniels in 24. We have Dennis Haysbert, who played David Palmer, and also we have the actor who played Mike Novick. He's back, yeah. So it was great seeing him. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is a 24 reunion. That was great. Yeah. Honestly, all three of those guys do a good job. And Dennis Haysbert, he does the best job he can, you know, filling in for Michael Clarke Duncan, and he does a good job. So yeah, he's there at the fight at the end. Of course, in this movie we see how he gets that golden eye. Golden Eye, yeah, that'd be a great movie to talk about right now. But I'm sure we'll touch on that at some point, talking about the November Man. But obviously we've got to wait for that. Yeah, because basically what happens is Dennis Haysbert has a fight with Mickey Rourke earlier in the segment when he's helping Josh Brolin to infiltrate the estate and kill the husband. Yeah, Dennis Haysbert and Mickey Rourke get into a fight, and it's during that Haysbert loses his eye, because Mickey Rourke just flat out digs his eye out with his bare hands. You know, okay, yeah, you don't mess with Mickey Rourke in these movies. He's yeah. Yeah, that line from Roadhouse. You mess with him, he'll seal your fate. You know, it's true, he will. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Nice little touch. So yeah, Dennis Haysbert is of course there during that final showdown, and he gets shot, but of course doesn't die. But you know, he's out of it. And then that's when Josh Brolin kills Eva Green, and that's pretty much the end of that segment, you know. So in summary, Eva Green, an old flame of Josh Brolin's, contacts him and says that she needs his help to kill her husband. He does. She screws him over, and then obviously he comes for revenge and kills her. And that was a pretty entertaining segment. They all were. I was really, you know, all through them, I was really into them all. Even though, of course, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt one was my favourite. So yeah, that segment, the Josh Brolin and Eva Green stuff, gets told all in one. And we get that, and then of course get the conclusion, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt segment, which I detailed earlier. And then, of course, we get the segment that we've been anticipating, the Jessica Alba segment, because this, of course, carries on directly from where things left off in the first movie, you know, with Bruce Willis committing suicide. And now, of course, Jessica Alba wants revenge for Bruce Willis being driven to kill himself, because, of course, Bruce Willis was the love of her life, and of course saved her life twice, once when she was a young girl and then once when she was 19. So yeah, and of course she knew why he killed himself, because obviously if he didn't, Powers Booth would have had him killed after Bruce Willis kills Powers Booth's son. So yeah, when we see Jessica Alba in this movie, she's completely gone off the rails, you know. Yeah, she's a complete train wreck. She's turned to alcohol, and obviously she's just, you know, she's mentally unstable. And of course, Bruce Willis does feature again in this movie in like a ghost form. You know, he's a figment of her imagination. Yeah. So he's kind of like what Ben Kenobi was to Luke Skywalker in Empire and Return of the Jedi, you know. And that, you know, it was a lot of fun to watch, and it was nice to see Bruce Willis trying for a change, because obviously a lot of his recent roles have been paycheck performances. He's got a nasty habit of just sleepwalking through a lot of his roles now. Because of course in Expendables and Expendables 2 that was a nice it was a nice change, because he genuinely was playing a good part in that. You know, those scenes when he wants to be intimidating, he really was intimidating, and you could buy the fact that, oh my god, he could beat the hell out of Stallone. He could kill Stallone if he really wanted to. So he was really good in those movies. And the same with Sin City and Sin City 2. When he comes to these movies, he always seems as though he wants to act and he wants to bring his A game. And, you know, because he does such a good job in the first movie. And even here, obviously his role's much more reduced than what it was in the first movie, but he still plays a really good part. And so I was happy to see him. And knowing that Bruce Willis brings his A game in Sin City, he was one of the attractions for me, you know, going in to see this movie, saying, oh, we'll get a good Bruce Willis performance. And I was pleased. Yeah. Really pleased. He does a really good job. Of course, but like I say, in a much more reduced capacity to what he was in the first movie. Yeah. So basically, Jessica Alba's segment in a nutshell is she wants revenge for Bruce Willis' death, and she goes and decides to kill Powers Booth, and to do this, she asks Mickey Rourke for his help. Brad Jones and Brian Lewis, when they reviewed this for the Cinema Snob website, they hit the nail on the head. They said in this movie, Marv, Mickey Rourke, is basically the Wolverine of this movie. And he is, because obviously how Hugh Jackman goes round and sorts, you know, he's the centerpiece of the X-Men movies, you know, he goes and sorts everything out, you know, he's involved in everything, and he really is, you know, he's the guy you go to, much like, of course, Gandalf in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. You know, Gandalf in Lord of the Rings of The Hobbit is like the Wolverine of that movie, or of those movies, I should say. So, but yeah, that's basically what Mickey Rourke is, because obviously he starts by helping those homeless guys out by killing those bunch of frat boys. He goes and helps Josh Brolin out and obviously saves his life. And then, of course, goes and helps Jessica Alba out. So yeah, and again, Mickey Rourke has a much bigger role in it. He's one of the, you know, obviously he had a big role in Sin City, but in this one he has an even bigger role. Yeah, and it's good because Mickey Rourke is really good as Marv. He really is. So yes, Jessica Alba goes and asks Mickey Rourke for his help. Mickey Rourke is all too pleased to help because, of course, you know from the first movie that they're pretty close. You know, they're really good friends. So obviously he's happy. You know, he said, you know, he even says in the first movie, there isn't much that Nancy wouldn't do for me, Nancy being Jessica Alba, and there isn't much that I wouldn't do for her. So yeah, the team up and basically launch an assault on Powers Booth's mansion. Like they kill off all his guards, storm the place, go and shoot the place up, and then of course it's Powers Booth one-on-one with Jessica Alba. And Jessica Alba does get into a bit of trouble because when she bursts into Powers Booth's study, Powers Booth blindsides her and shoots her shoots her in the shoulder, and then while she's on the floor, proceeds to shoot her in the leg. So basically, she's at the mercy of Powers Booth now, and that's not a good place to be, because Powers Booth will kill you, and he won't think twice about it. Now, Powers Booth, he gets monologuing, you know, like, oh, I've been looking for you for so long, wanting to get revenge from what you did to my son. And finally goes to kill her. He's gonna give her do the same thing that he did to poor Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think he's gonna shoot her point blank in the face. But then, in the mirror in his study, we get, because obviously this is taking place at night, why wouldn't it? And then obviously we get a flash of lightning, because again, why wouldn't we? And during that flicker of that flash of lightning, when the room lights up for that brief second, we see Bruce Willis in the mirror. Like, Bruce Willis has appeared in ghost form to Powers Booth, and Powers Booth freaks out. He's like, no, Hartigan's back. This can't be happening. And obviously he's looking around, saying, where the hell is he? And obviously, Jessica Alba uses that time to get up and grab a gun and shoot Powers Booth. I think she gets him in the shoulder first. You know, yeah, payback. And then proceeds to deliver the finishing blow. You know, this one's for John Hart, and you know, this is for John Hartigan. Bam, kills him point blank. And do you know what? That's the end of the movie. Yeah, she shoots Powers Booth. The screen goes black, and then we get a sweeping shot through Sin City and some ending narration from Jessica Alba, and then we, you know, in that, like they do with the title card, there's sweep up from Sin City, and the way the tower blocks are situated, it forms the lettering of the title card. You know, Frank Miller's Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, and then we get the credits. And you know what? Again, it comes down to that thing. I love movies where they get the job done, you know, and then movie's over. You know, mind you, I say that, but obviously I love The Return of the King, where we get X amount of different endings, the amount of fade outs we get in that. But don't worry, we'll talk more about that when it comes to reviewing the final Hobbit movie. Oh yeah, but yeah, she kills Powers Booth. That's the end of the segment, and then with that ending narration, we have the end of the movie, and I loved that. Because I was thinking, oh man, we're not going to get a long wrap up, are we? No, it's all right. Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller, because obviously they co-direct these movies. Unfortunately, we didn't have any involvement from Tarantino this time, I don't think, because of course he was a special guest director on the last movie. I think he was involved with directing the Clive Owen segment in the first movie, but unfortunately he's not here in this movie. But the movie doesn't suffer for it. It's still just as good, you know. But yeah, sorry though, I may be wrong, but to my knowledge, Quentin Tarantino didn't have any involvement with this second movie. But yeah, Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez realises, you know, we don't need to see any long wrap up. You know, that's all we need to know. Jessica Alba got her own back. She killed Powers Booth. She saved herself, because basically, you know, she had to kill Powers Booth before he found her and killed her, because obviously he was looking for her, and they had past each other, because of course she's the stripper in the nightclub where Powers Booth has his poker game, but of course he didn't know that she was who she was. You know, he didn't know that was Nancy Callahan, the one involved with the death of his son. But obviously he eventually finds out, and you know, he's gonna go and kill her, but obviously Jessica Alba manages to kill him before he kills her. But yeah, Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller realises we don't need to see any long wrap up. It's enough that we see her just kill Powers Booth, and then obviously we can just draw our own conclusions then. You know, because we know she's gonna be fine now, because he would, you know, he won't be out. You know, he can't get her anymore because he's dead. So yeah, nice way, abrupt ending, yeah, but again, a good abrupt, not like Expendables 3, when obviously it's them young guys are singing karaoke and it's just a shot of Stallone and Statham smiling, and then black screen, credit. No, this is quite a good abrupt, you know? And besides, well, it's not that abrupt because you can tell with the closing narration that it's coming to a close and the sweeping shot of the city, you know. But yeah, I was really pleased. And this movie, obviously, it's around the 2 hour mark, I think, you know, so similar length to the first one. But again, both films, they don't drag, you know, they flow well, you know, and the way they interweave the different segments, it's relatively seamless. It flows, you know. It did in the first movie, it did in this one, you know. So, and when it picks up with the segment that you know, left off, you know, if it leaves like what they did with the Joseph Gordon-Levitt, they give half. Showed half of it, then showed the Josh Brolin stuff, then showed the second half of it. You know, you can pick up, so you can get straight back into it again, no problem. Like with the Bruce Willis segment in the first one, when you picked it up later on, you could get straight back into it. It was no, you know, and that's one. It's one of the great things about these movies, you know, that a lot of thought and effort, a lot of time has gone into it, you know, into these movies. And that's the thing. I actually said the other day that Sin City and Sin City 2 could very well be Robert Rodriguez masterpieces, because of course Dusk Till Dawn was good, and I liked both the Machete movies, you know, but there's something about the Sin City movies that stands out, you know. You can tell. I think a lot of people would agree when I say that there could very well be his masterpieces, the Sin City movies, because, like I say, the writing and, you know, the great effort they took in getting that really distinctive look, that film noir look mixed with the comic book look and feel. You can tell that these movies have been a labour of love. They've been a passion project, you know. They're not something that have been thrown together quickly just for the sole purpose of making money. Robert Rodriguez has made these movies because he wanted to make these movies. And of course, Frank Miller being the creator, you know, obviously he wrote the graphic novels. So obviously it's great that they've brought him into it, and that's probably one of the reasons why the movies have been as good as they have been, because the creator of the original material is involved with the making of these movies. And obviously, you know, that I genuinely think that is one of the reasons why these movies have been so good. But you know, I haven't read the original graphic novels. I haven't, but yet I was able to get really invested in these movies and just pick it up, you know. I just managed to roll, you know. I rolled with it, and it was surprisingly easy, you know. You don't have to have read those novels to enjoy these movies, and that's another thing that shows how great and how well done these movies are. But yeah, the way this ended, I'm not sure if we'll get another Sin City movie, and of course, due to the poor box office, we may not, but only time will tell. But honestly, I'd be happy either way, because this movie, the way this movie ended with Jessica Alba killing Senator Rourke, it felt as though it had you know, we got a conclusion. Yeah, it really did. But, of course, the beauty with anthology movies, you can just run and run. Like, different stories taking place. You know, like, and as they showed with the Josh Brolin stuff in this, you can even set it before the events of either film 1 or 2. You know, so it's a relative, you know, making a sequel would not be difficult at all, because obviously there's a lot of material to go by, and obviously you can just have whatever segments you want, you know. You wouldn't even have to use the same characters, you know. But again, either way, I'd be happy, because I felt as though this movie was, you know, a good way to end. It had a good conclusion, a good ending to it, you know, as you know, like a good ending to this movie, but also as a conclusion to what happened in the first film as well. But I'd be just as happy if Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller got together and made a third movie, because they've been so enjoyable so far, and I'm sure with those two together they'd manage to, you know, make another one which is just as enjoyable and which lives up just as well as this second movie has, you know. So yeah, I really recommend this movie. You know, you can go and you won't be disappointed. And it was nice to see a movie on at the cinema again, which has been rated. Yeah, it was nice to see a movie on at the cinema rated 18. You know, because it seems as though 18 rated movies are becoming few and far between. Yeah. But it was nice to have a movie rated 18 on at the cinema again. Yeah, it was pretty cool. You know, looking at your ticket stub, Sin City 2, rated 18. Oh, this is cool. You know, and you gotta love Robert Rodriguez. Like, he doesn't do PG-13 movies, you know. He goes R rating all the way. And you gotta love him for that. It's the same with Tarantino, you know. These guys make the movies they want to make. And you gotta love them for it. But yeah, highly recommend this movie. And of course it looks, mind you, there's me going on about not getting many R-rated, 18-rated movies. From some of the previews we got, when I went to see it, looks as though we're getting a string of R-rated movies actually. The Guest, The Equalizer, Liam Neeson's new movie, Walk Among the Tombstones, and then of course when we eventually get The November Man over here in the UK. So 4 R-rated movies to look forward to. They're gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be great. Yeah, but I'll look forward to them, and I'm sure they'll be great movie-going experiences. And this one was too, you know, great way to make up for the disappointment that was Expendables 3. Sorry to keep harping on about that, but honestly, I'd been waiting for Expendables 3 since it was first announced. You know, I was psyched for that movie, and of course I did enjoy it, I did like it, but was ultimately very disappointed with it. You know, so Sin City 2 was a great way to make up for it, and I'm sure The November Man will be. But, you know, I'm really looking forward to November Man. I'm sure that's going to be better than Expendables 3. And also, those 3 other movies, The Equalizer, Walk Among the Tombstones, and The Guest, will also be, they're just extra. They're just bonus movies, you know. They'll just add to it, you know. Yeah, so still got a lot of good movies coming out, a lot to look forward to. Even though the summer's over, you know, still got a lot of movies coming out in 2014 to look forward to. But, and like I say, I'll be right there with him, you know, I'll be right here to talk about them. But yes, that brings this video to a close. I highly recommend Sin City 2. Yeah, I loved it, and I think you guys will too. And if you've never really watched Sin City, you know, watch the first one and go out and see this one. You'll really enjoy it. Yeah, I hope this has sparked your interest, and of course, I hope the fans of these movies and the fans of the original source material agree with some of the points that I've made. But yes, thank you for sticking with me and thank you for watching. And if you go see the movie, I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys later. Bye.